Hello, Canada, and the world at large. This is Lane from Canada. I recently worked a string of night shifts. Sitting in a truck in the wintry Canadian Rockies in the pitch black for 13 hours at a time, the mind tends to wander into deep questions. Questions like, what's better for keeping me awake, those Starbucks vanilla double shots or the Monster Java mean beans? Is there actually a difference in flavor between those two, or are the Starbucks and Monster people just putting the exact same drink into different 444 milliliter cans, and then high-fiving each other in the back room as we pay $5 a shot? Are we alone in the universe? What was that weird sound just now? Are the grizzly bears awake yet? What about Kodiak bears? I know they're indigenous to Alaska, but what's to stop the Kodiak bears from roaming down into northwestern British Columbia? It's not like they're bound by national borders and those pansies up in the Yukon ain't gonna stop them. How much money is Disney's new Little Mermaid gonna lose? Does it actually deserve to lose more? Am I crazy, or did they really do the CGI with Microsoft Paint? Are the actors and filmmakers who call you racist for not liking the trailer the real racists for race-swapping Ariel for reasons other than Halle Bailey's merit? Are the racists who call other people racist worse than regular racists? Why do they want all the Caucasian redheads dead anyway? And then the really big one hit me. If I review Hunt for the Wilderpeople, does it count as before movies sucked or post before movies sucked? Much like a questionable carton of 4 days past expiry chocolate milk I drank this morning, it's right on the edge. It was released in January of 2016, post before movies sucked, but it was filmed in 2015, before movies sucked. In the end, I'm calling it before movies sucked because I just did a post before movies sucked like 2 videos ago, and I want to keep those reserved as special treats in keeping with the spirit of this channel. Whatever. If you want to know my official Q criteria for this channel, basically a movie pops into my head and I say, hey, I want to talk about that one today. Welcome to Before Movies Sucked, and this is Hunt for the Wilderpeople. Acclaimed New Zealand director and screenwriter Taika Waititi, who wrote and directed Hunt for the Wilderpeople, also recently wrote and directed the 29th installment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Thor: Love and Thunder. It sucks! Anywho, juvenile delinquent Ricky Baker was abandoned by his mother into the foster system as a young child, and has developed a reputation within child welfare services as a
real baby.
Ricky's case manager Paula and a police officer named Andy take him to the remote farm of Heck and Bella Faulkner at the end of the vast New Zealand bush country. Bella enthusiastically welcomes the sullen boy into their lives, but Heck is gruff and standoffish.
You ever worked on a farm before? You're just ornamental.
Ricky is closed off as they spend their first evening together, but Bella's natural cheerfulness is unshakable. She tells Ricky that he can call her and Heck his auntie and uncle, although Heck dislikes this.
Okay, well, I hope you like your room, Petal. They said you like to read, so I've got a bunch of books for you, and you'll also notice an Indian lamp, a bulldog lamp, and some cats, and a nice sharp knife to kill monsters in the night.
Ricky habitually runs away on his first night and eventually falls asleep on a hill, but Bella immediately finds him the next morning, revealing that he only managed to trek a couple hundred yards away from the farm. Bella is dismissive and tells him he's welcome to run away at any time, but suggests that he come back to the house for a good breakfast first. Bella slowly begins to win Ricky's heart with her acts of kindness, especially by leaving a hot water bottle in his bed every night, which Ricky secretly finds very comforting. She teaches him farm chores and how to shoot a rifle, although he becomes queasy and faints the first time he witnesses Bella and her dog Zag hunt down a wild pig, which Bella brutally stabs to death with her hunting knife. When Bella tells him about her old home on a lake in the bush, which she describes as being so high that it wets the cloak of the sky, Ricky opens up to her about his time in previous foster homes and his hobby of writing haiku. However, his efforts to talk with Heck are only met with irritation.
So, what's your dog's name?
Zag.
You should get another one and name it Zig. Bella told me to tell you that you should give me something to do. Is there anything you want me to do?
Yeah. Leave me alone.
Cool.
Ricky finally feels at home when Bella writes him a song for his 13th birthday and gifts him a dog who he names Tupac. That night, Bella again tells Ricky that he's welcome to run away anytime he likes, so long as he's back in time for breakfast. After playing with Tupac a short time afterward, Ricky hears Heck loudly crying in the barnyard and finds him holding Bella, who has suddenly died of a heart attack. Their mourning is only made worse by what is either the best or worst funeral eulogy in history.
You know that
If you're ever in that situation, there are always two doors to choose from. And through the first door, it's easy to get through that door, and on the other side, waiting for you, are all the nummiest treats you can imagine. Fanta, Doritos, LMP, burger rings, Coke Zero. But you know what? There's also another door. Not the burger ring door, not the Fanta door. Another door that's harder to get through. Guess what's on the other side? Anyone want to take a guess?
Vegetables?
No. No, not vegetable. No.
Jesus?
You would think Jesus. I thought Jesus the first time I come across that door. It's not Jesus. It's another door. And guess what's on the other side of that door?
Jesus.
Jesus. Yeah, Jesus. It's tricky like that, Jesus.
A letter arrives from Child Welfare stating that due to Bella's death, Ricky will be taken back into their custody in a few days, although Ricky is desperate to stay on the farm.
Why don't we just get you a new wife? There's plenty of ladies on the internet, I heard. Too soon?
Just get this into your head, boy. It was Bella that wanted you here, not me. I know you think this can work, but it can't.
Ricky despairs, as the farm was his last chance and he believes he'll be immediately sent to juvie if he goes back. Determined not to be lost in the system, he steals a rifle and provisions after Heck has gone to sleep. He attempts to fake his own suicide by leaving a note and burning a crude dummy in the barn, but he ineptly burns down the entire barn. In a panic, he runs away into the bush with Tupac. Ricky becomes hopelessly lost and runs out of supplies within a few days. He's beginning to hallucinate that Tupac is a cake when he is discovered by Heck and Zag, who have been tracking him. Ricky tries to maintain a tough facade to hide his fear of going back into the world, but he only ends up quarreling with Heck again.
Fuck you, so
I
get it.
hate you.
Well, I hate you too.
I hope you die.
Me too.
May as well just kill me now. Don't kill me.
As they begin the long hike back, Ricky inadvertently discovers that Heck never learned how to read, a fact that Heck is deeply ashamed of. When Ricky thoughtlessly compares him to a grunting caveman, Heck loses his temper and lunges at the boy, but twists his foot in a crag and fractures his ankle. Ricky manages to set the injury, but they glumly realize that they'll have to make camp for several weeks until Heck is healed enough to walk. Paula and Andy return to the abandoned farm to retrieve Ricky, but only find his crude attempt to convince them that he committed suicide. However, they conclude that Heck must have suffered a mental breakdown after Bella's death and kidnapped Ricky. Paula immediately initiates a manhunt, and the region is plastered with wanted posters. Even while injured, Heck demonstrates that his knowledge of bushcraft, which he refers to as the knack, far exceeds Ricky's. He begins teaching the boy basic survival skills over the following weeks, and they gain a grudging respect for one another. When Heck is finally able to walk, they hike out to a hunter's hut, where they see a newspaper article about the manhunt for them. A trio of hunters arrive and immediately assume that Heck is Ricky's kidnapper. The situation only gets worse when Ricky describes Heck's aloof nature, but innocently phrases it in a way that makes it sound like Heck has been molesting him, horrifying the overzealous hunters.
You're going to jail, you pervert.
You want to say that again? Say it again.
Going to jail. You pervert.
Just got real! Back up, homies, and let go of my uncle!
It's okay, kid. You can put it down. He won't hurt you anymore.
I said, get away from my uncle!
Ricky! Give me that.
Get out!
Ricky, get their guns. Take the bolts out. Getting out of here. Yeah. Just got real.
As they flee from the hut, Heck says the police will never believe that he's innocent, as he killed a man in a drunken fight when he was young and was imprisoned for manslaughter, which an odd Ricky believes makes him a gangster. They decide to disappear into the vast bush country and spend several months roaming the wilderness, hunting game, and scavenging supplies from various homes and camps. When they come to a high mountain lake, Ricky wonders if it might be Bella's home, but Heck tells him that Bella was an orphan just like both of them. She didn't know where she was born and had made up the story about the lake that wet the cloak of the sky a long time ago. They also spot a huia, a rare bird that was believed to have been extinct for more than 100 years, and realize that it would be an incredibly valuable find if they can find a way to document it. While scavenging at a ranger station, they discover a ranger who is in a near comatose state of diabetic shock. Heck stays behind to look after the man, while Ricky is directed to a nearby settlement to call for help. He meets a Maori girl named Kahu, who he is immediately smitten by, and she takes him back to her family's farm to arrange a medevac. Although Kahu's laid-back father recognizes Ricky, he considers him a celebrity and they never consider turning him over to the police. After months on the run, an exhausted Ricky is touched by their hospitality and ends up falling asleep for a long time. Ricky wakes in a panic knowing that he's overslept and rushes back to the station, only to see that the paramedics have arrived with the police and Paula. Realizing that Heck escaped before they arrived, Ricky sets off into the bush alone in search of him, using his new survival skills to evade the search parties and find food. He's spotted by Paula and Andy from across a steep ravine, and Paula tells him that she'll make sure he doesn't go to juvie if he agrees to come back with them and blame everything on Heck. Ricky refuses to betray his uncle and escapes into the bush, eventually reuniting with Heck. After the media breaks the story of how Ricky and Heck saved the ranger's life, they are revered by the public as freedom-loving outlaws. However, they also face the hardship of the approaching winter and realize that the 3 hunters they met are also tracking them in hopes of claiming the reward. The dogs flush out a very large wild boar, which violently mauls Zag and overpowers Heck. Ricky saves Heck by shooting and killing the boar, but Zag has been mortally wounded, and Heck is forced to put him down. Although they are saddened by the loss, Heck appreciates Ricky carving the dog's name into the gravestones, and Ricky reveals that he has been carrying Bella's ashes with him the whole time. When they discover a beautiful mountain waterfall, they sprinkle out Bella's ashes together. After spending the night with an anti-government hermit named Psycho Sam, Ricky and Heck realize that the police have tracked them to the home after Sam unknowingly turned on Ricky's cell phone. Sam gives them his old pickup truck to flee in, although Ricky insists on driving. Oh yeah, and then this happens.
Just stop the truck. I want to get out now.
I didn't choose the Skug's life. The Skug's life chose me.
Ricky, stop. Stop!
Heck disgustedly surrenders to the police who have surrounded them, but Ricky demands that his uncle stay with him till the end and holds him at gunpoint. One of the hunters attempts to shoot Heck, but he is tackled by Andy. The commotion startles Ricky and he accidentally shoots Heck, superficially wounding him before they are both taken into custody. After a lengthy court proceeding, Kahu's family volunteers to be Ricky's new guardians. Heck is sent to prison for a short time and then moves into a rehabilitation house where he finally learns how to read. Missing their time together, Ricky invites him to hire on at the new farm and live with them, which Heck gladly agrees to.
Got something to say. Me and this fat kid, we ran, we ate, and read books, and it was the best.
It was the best.
In the end, they set off on another adventure into the bush with Tupac, determined to find the Huya again and take photos of it. Did I mention Thor Love and Thunder sucked and the new Little Mermaid is going to lose money? There's always something special to me about a family survival story with an uncomplicated plot, which is probably why I'm willing to risk the wrath of the internet and say things like, I liked After Earth. I'm standing by that. Will Smith's Fear is Not Real monologue is underrated. What makes Hunt for the Wilderpeople different, but a little extra special, is that it's a survival story that takes borderline strangers who had basically already failed the family experiment and throws them into an adventure which leads to them becoming a family. Outside of his blockbuster franchises like Thor Ragnarok, Taika Waititi has proven multiple times how well he can balance humor, emotion, and serious subject matter in smaller budgeted projects, and his collaboration with the New Zealand group Moniker gives his film some truly original music scores. 2019's Jojo Rabbit is his most popular and successful example of this type of filmmaking, although I consider Hunt for the Wilderpeople to be by far the superior movie and a heck of a lot more rewatchable. There's no deep moral themes to untangle, and the humor is based in back-and-forth dialogue from conflicting personalities rather than quirky characters just saying something funny. I'm not saying there's any shortage of quirky characters in this movie. Some of my favorite comic actors hail from New Zealand, and if you haven't watched Flight of the Conchords on HBO, you're truly missing out. Rhys Darby, who played one of television's all-time greatest characters in that show, the ever-optimistic band manager Murray Hewitt, gives a welcome performance here as the film's quirkiest character, Psycho Sam. The man has a way of elevating just about any joke he delivers, or even elevating a regular line into a joke, and his brief appearance is a highlight in the movie. And despite any gripes that I might have with Taika Waititi in recent years, his habit of making appearances in his own films is not one of them. I loved him as Korg in Thor Ragnarok, as well as his roles in Jojo Rabbit and What We Do in the Shadows, and he also gives one of the most hilariously deadpan cameos I've ever seen as the pastor at Bella's funeral. Rachel House as Paula doesn't give the best performance in the movie, but she absolutely gives the funniest one. It's the sort of obsessively driven, one-dimensional antagonist that brings to mind Ed Rooney in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, or even Buck Lafarge in Dunstan Checks In, but it's also softened by the knowledge that despite seeking her own grandeur, Paula really does want to protect Ricky from an overblown threat. Her gradual progression from a pantsuited professional in her first scene to full tactical body armor in the final chase sequence is truly hilarious, as is her brief scene where she instructs police officers on how to snap a man's neck. Also, it's pretty safe to say she gets the best lines in the movie.
She's scared.
Scared? No, he's not. He's not a scared little kid. He's a spanner in the works, and I'm the mechanic who's going to take that spanner and put him back in the toolbox.
Okay.
Where he belongs.
All right.
No child left behind. No child left behind. No child left behind. You'll know what that means.
I'll never stop running.
Yeah, and I'll never stop chasing you. I'm relentless. I'm like the Terminator.
I'm more like Terminator than you.
I said it first. You're more like Sarah Connor.
No, I'm not.
Yes. In the first movie, too, before she could do chin-ups.
Surrounded by so many comic characters, Sam Neill and even Julian Dennison kind of end up playing the straight men in the film as Heck and Ricky, but this doesn't make either one of them any less endearing or memorable. It always feels strange to call it chemistry when two characters so obviously rub each other the wrong way in almost all of their scenes, but that form of innocent headbutting is what makes their portrayals convincing as a fledgling family. It's also pretty refreshing to see a movie which realistically depicts a seeming streetwise urban kid as being reliant for survival on an aging male character with actual real-world experience, despite Heck's lack of any formal education. Most movies attempt to appeal to younger audiences by inflating the value, wisdom, morality, and competence of their child and teenage characters. However, more often than not, the blue-haired people who write modern movies lack the intelligence to accomplish this organically, so they can only inflate the youth by superficially deconstructing adults, and particularly men. There's never a moment in the film where Heck has to learn a lesson from Ricky. Rather, Heck's character arc comes from his growing understanding of Ricky, seeing through his annoying wannabe gangster persona to the truth of a sad child suffering from the pain of abandonment. The moment when Heck realizes that Bella's death took a mother away from Ricky as much as it took a wife away from him, is the moment when he begins to see Ricky as a friend and as a son. The death of Zag is probably their most poignant scene, and also leads to the most gruffly affectionate moment between Heck and Ricky. In a lesser film helmed by a bleeding heart director who's never left West Hollywood, Heck's decision to euthanize Zag would have led to a rift between him and Ricky, with the child angrily blaming him for not trying to save the dog. Instead, Ricky doesn't question the need to end the dog's suffering, demonstrating that he understands what a painful decision Heck was forced to make. All of this shows how much Ricky has matured during their time in the woods. Immediately afterwards, he presents Heck with the secret that he has been carrying Bella's ashes with him the whole time, finally willing to share his own grief with his new father figure. No matter how great Sam Neill and Julian Dennison are in this movie, to me it is Rima Tiwiata who gives the standout performance as Bella. I've literally seen her in nothing else except this movie, so she will always be Bella Faulkner in my mind. She's a character who is at once warm and loving while also cracking insensitive jokes about Ricky's weight that would immediately get her banned from Twitter. Her absolute delight in tackling a wild boar and stabbing it to death in front of a traumatized Ricky is one of the funniest scenes in the movie, while also presenting a surprisingly realistic depiction of life on a farm. I think wolves are some of the most beautiful animals in the wild kingdom, and when they strolled into our calving pasture, I immediately grabbed my dad's 375. Life is hard, and you learn that fast when you grew up wearing a lot more rubber boots than shoes. The death of a female loved one in fiction, sometimes called fridging, is normally a device used to motivate a male character and propel him through the rest of the plot. Most often in a vengeful way in action films, such as Harrison Ford in The Fugitive, Vin Diesel in A Man Apart, and Bruce Willis in Death Wish. While these are all examples of films that I love, the trope can feel pretty crass due to rampant overuse in recent years, so I've got to at least grant the feminist argument on that one. However, the death of Bella has the opposite effect, as both Heck and Ricky were so dependent on her love and support that the loss takes away their motivation and sense of purpose. Ricky wants to stay with Heck, but only because he doesn't want to go back into the system. Heck feels no reason to continue working the farm and would just as happily fade back into the wilderness from whence he came, while giving up on the prospect of raising a son. It was Bella who gave them both a reason for being and the foundations of a family. Because of this, she isn't cast aside after the first act, but remains as the most important thing in the world to both Ricky and Heck. Two things I particularly like are that Bella is literally with them every step of the way as Ricky secretly carries her ashes into the bush, and that Ricky and Heck only become friends and family when they both realize how much the other loved Bella. The love she shared truly accompanies them through the story, with her cherished memory becoming the de facto third member of their new family. And that's what makes Hunt for the Wilderpeople one of my favorite cinematic depictions of family, regardless of how many times Ricky and Heck snap "I hate you" at each other. Could this movie be made today?
You're going to jail, you pervert.
Child molestation and grooming of minors presented as a bad thing. Drag Queen Story Hour, Virginia's Loudoun County School Board, Disney's noble battle against the Parental Rights and Education Bill, the celebrity-laden client list of Jeffrey Epstein, and various other blue-haired people would like to have a word.
As actors, it is our responsibility to read the newspapers and then say what we read on television like it's our own opinion. Matt Damon.
Disney Marvel has made it very clear in recent years that rugged white males punching each other in the face is dead with the dinosaurs. The only acceptable villains are sympathetically portrayed young women with zero emotional range who run crime syndicates or blatantly commit acts of terrorism and genocide. Generally played by bland and relatively unknown minority actresses because, Disney doesn't have to pay them as much. But it should be noted that their evil deeds are okay because it's a white man's fault.
You've got to do better, Senator. You've got to step up.
How are those Echo, Agatha Harkness, and Ironheart series coming along on Disney Plus there, Disney?
No.
Woo! You're a big fella. Who ate the guy who ate all the pies, eh?
What do you want to do? You hungry? That's a silly question, isn't it? Look at you.
Those two lines made me love Bella more than any other character in this movie. Body positivity activists, the geniuses who came up with the concept that thin privilege is racist, and various other blue-haired people would like to have a word.
It is a big deal. You almost killed Stanley.
Yeah, right. I filled him full of butter and sugar for 50 years and forced him not to exercise.
They're fighting for freedom, and we believe in freedom in New Zealand. It is a marvellous thing.
Freedom-loving New Zealand implemented draconian COVID lockdown measures widely agreed upon as the most restrictive in the world, putting the governments of China, Canada, Australia, and even Michigan to shame. The New Zealand government and various other blue-haired people who still wear masks while alone in their cars would like to have a word.
Today, Cabinet has agreed to maintain our current settings for an additional 12 days.
We will be looking at what contact tracing looks like in the New World Order.
That's a huge
The small fringe minority of people who
are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that...
Get the shot.
Oh yeah, no. Don't want to do that.
You have to.
Oh, I think I'm just gonna sit in my truck till you learn some manners there, mister.
Wow, those people just reminded me how much demonic pits of hell evil has been done over the years in the name of, it's for your own safety. I now fully get why hell has to exist, and here's a more likable 14-year-old Jackie Evanko doing an Evanescence cover. Anyway, should Christ tarry, I'll see you in the next video. Jesus loves you. Vote Lane for King of Canada. Never be too quick to assume that someone's a real bad egg, unless they work for Disney or the Loudoun County School Board. And let's make movies great again.
Put him on the endangered species list.
Come on, man.